More Beautiful Than Heaven, Episode 9, Preview. Seeds of New Conflict. Since mother-in-law's reincarnation, Haesuk and Nakjun had been growing closer little by little. However, ever since discovering the dandelion ring, Haesuk had been feeling an inexplicable anxiety. Nakjun returned home late at night and found Haesuk staring intently at the dandelion ring. Her expression was full of suspicion and unease. Nakjun, is there something between you and Sami? Haesuk's voice was trembling. Nakjun was startled and shook his head. What are you talking about? I only love you. But what is this ring? Sami made it with you, didn't she? Nakjun hesitated to answer. To explain his relationship with Sami, he would have to reveal the complicated past entangled with detective gang Jongu. Somi, from the depths of memory. Meanwhile, Somai recalled another fragment of memory in the deep night. The moment she strangled Detective Gang Jongu, she vividly remembered the fear and despair reflected in his eyes. But what was more shocking were the words that came from her own mouth at that moment. Give me back my father. Give me back my father. Somai suddenly stood up and clutched her chest. Father? Did she have a father? And what connection did Gang Jongu have with that father? In Heaven's library, Nakjun had been searching through records related to Gang Jongu for a long time. 1982, a spy case. Detective Gang Jongu, who was in charge of the investigation, and the story of a family sacrificed in that case gradually began to reveal itself. This can't be. How could this happen? Nakjun's hands trembled. The truth he had been seeking was far more cruel than expected. Hidden past, intertwined fate. Haesuk accidentally discovered old newspaper clippings at home. It was the story of a painter who had been framed as a spy when he was alive. The moment she saw the painter's face, Haesuk's body froze like stone. This person, I've definitely seen him before. The painter resembled a man she had met in her youth. He was a poor painter, but his eyes shone like stars. But one day, he suddenly disappeared after being falsely accused of being a spy. The center director called Nakjun and began an important conversation. The truth you've been seeking is more complex than you think. Detective Gang Jongu wasn't simply an evil person. He too was a victim. What do you mean? In 1982, Gang Jongu was ordered by his superiors to frame a painter as a spy. If he refused, his own family would be in danger. In the end, he chose his family over his conscience, and the painter died. Nakjun's face turned pale. Is that painter's daughter? Somi? The center director nodded. That child lived thinking only of revenge after her father's death. She wandered searching for Gang Jongu, and when she finally found him, she tried to kill him but failed and ended up meeting her own death. Cross-truths, complex emotions. Samai was retracing her entire past life in Heaven's memory restoration room. The day her father died unjustly, the day her mother collapsed from shock, and all the moments she had vowed revenge came back vividly. I was a murderer. Tears flowed from Sami's eyes. But at the same time, anger surged. She couldn't believe that Gang Jongu, who had driven her father to death, was comfortably in heaven. Then, Nakjun entered the memory restoration room. As soon as he saw Samai, he made a complex expression. Somi! I need to tell you the truth I've learned. The truth? The truth between Detective Gang Jongu, your father, and me. Nakjun took a deep breath. I was also involved in that case. I participated in creating those fabricated evidence. Sumi's face contorted. What did you say? I was working at a printing shop at the time, and Gang Jongu asked me to create fake documents. I needed money, and I made them without knowing what they would be used for. Shock and betrayal. Sumi stepped back several paces. She couldn't believe that the person she had come to love had participated in driving her father to death. Then you're no different from someone who killed my father. Sumi, I didn't know what it was for. I only found out what I had participated in later when I saw it in the newspaper. I've lived with regret for the rest of my life. But to Sami, it just sounded like an excuse. She pushed Nakjun away and ran out. Haesuk's discovery. Returning home, Haesuk found Same crying. At first, she tried to pretend not to notice, but eventually sat beside her. What's wrong? Same told her everything. Her identity, her father's death, and Nakjun's betrayal. As Haesuk listened, her expression gradually hardened. Such a thing! Then Haesuk remembered the newspaper clipping she had found, the painter's face, and the young daughter photographed with him. Same, look at this photo. When Haesuk showed her the newspaper clipping, Somi's eyes widened. This is the last photo my father and I took together. How do you have this? I lived in that neighborhood back then. I saw your father and heard what happened to your family. The two women discovered their fateful connection as they looked at each other. Gang Jongu's confession. At Heaven's police station, Detective Gang Jongu sat facing Nakjun. After a long silence, Gang Jongu opened his mouth. I've suffered my whole life because of that incident. Every night that painter appeared in my dreams, resenting me. Then why did you do such a thing? I had no choice. It was an order from above, and if I refused, my family would be in danger. Still, I can't make excuses. It's a clear fact that I drove an innocent person to death. Tears welled up in Gang Junggu's eyes, too. When that daughter tried to kill me, I didn't run away. I was already prepared to die. But that child died first. The delicate beginning of reconciliation. The next day, Sumai came looking for Nakjun. Her face clearly showed traces of a night spent in contemplation. Yesterday was so shocking. I think I reacted too emotionally. No, your reaction was natural. After hearing everything, you were also another victim. It was the era of military dictatorship, and ordinary people had no choice but to do as they were told. Nakjun was surprised by Somi's mature attitude. But I still find my father's death unjust, and my anger toward Detective Gang Jongu doesn't subside easily. Me too. I've also lived with guilt about what I did for my whole life. The two people carefully tried to understand each other's wounds. New development. The center director called all three people to the central hall. Haesuk was there too. Now that all the truth has been revealed, it's time to move to the next stage. The next stage? Heaven has a ceremony of reconciliation and forgiveness. It provides an opportunity for souls who have hurt each other to truly reconcile. The center director paused and smiled meaningfully. But this ceremony has special conditions. All parties involved must participate voluntarily, and it can only succeed if they truly forgive. Gang Jonggu trembled as he spoke. If the ceremony fails, what happens? Then all the souls involved will return to the wheel of reincarnation. But that means falling to a lower world. The four people fell into deep contemplation as they looked at each other. The story not yet ended. The center director spoke quietly to the four gathered people. The ceremony of reconciliation is not accomplished simply by saying you forgive. A true change of heart is needed. Gang Jonggu knelt down and sat in front of Somi. In his eyes, the guilt he had carried all his life was clearly visible. What I did to your father can never be forgiven. But I was truly sorry. Somi looked at him for a long time. In her heart, desire for revenge and compassion were mixing. It was the moment of revenge she had dreamed of every night. But standing before it, everything seemed empty. I also tried to kill you. That's also an unforgivable act. Then a faint light began to emanate from Somi's body. Nakjun stood up in surprise. Somi, what's happening to you? Somi was also bewildered. Her hands were becoming increasingly transparent. But rather than fear, she felt a strange peace. The center director smiled. It seems the ceremony of reconciliation has begun. Somi will be given a special choice. A choice? If she can truly forgive, she will be able to start a new life. But that also means giving up everything she has had so far. Somi looked at Nakjun. The feelings that had sprouted between them were genuine. But were they more important than loyalty to her father and the desire for revenge? Haesuk quietly took Somi's hand. My child, no matter how unjust, revenge ultimately only hurts yourself. I lived that way too. At Haesuk's warm touch, tears flowed from Simi's eyes. But my father died so unjustly. Still, your father wouldn't want his daughter to spend her life in revenge. He would have wanted his daughter to be happy. The light emanating from Somi's body grew stronger. She finally made her decision. I will forgive. I will forgive everything. At that moment, a miraculous thing happened. The light from Somi's body enveloped the entire space, and within that light, the figure of a man appeared faintly. It was Somi's father. Father! Somi shed tears of mixed sorrow and joy as she saw her father smiling at her. Her father nodded silently, with an expression that understood everything. Jongu also saw this and began to cry as he knelt. He had been unable to forget the face of the person he had killed all his life. I'm truly sorry. Really? But Somi's father sent Jongu a look of forgiveness too.